do you think is the richest man in the world? And if you ask somebody who's connected, who's worldly, who's been around, every single one of those people, every single time, will give you the same answer. They will say the richest man in the world, obviously, is Vladimir Putin. And on paper, that shouldn't be true, right? The salary of the Russian president is a fraction of what even the US president gets paid. Vladimir Putin has never had a job outside the Russian government. He's never had any disclosed business ties, any official investments we are allowed to know about. But you know what? The whole oligarchs thing, the whole conversion of all state-run enterprises of the communist Soviet Union, right? All those billions and even tens of billions of dollars that have moved over the last 20 years, all of that money is believed to have gone to some degree through Vladimir Putin's pockets. He is widely believed, by people who are in a position to know, he is widely believed to be the richest man in the world, and by a lot. And basically, all of that wealth, if it's true, right? All of that wealth has been stolen and or extorted and or kicked back to him over his 17 years in office, running an increasingly autocratic Russian government. I mean, technically, yes, there's a Russian parliament, but it is like a vestigial organ at this point. It's basically the adenoid of the Russian government. It's the tonsil. Vladimir Putin has allowed for there to be one non-Putin thing in Russian government. And it is this guy. The guy with his back to us there doing the sort of chicken wing dance. His name is Dmitry Medvedev. And now, look at this. This is that video, right, by the opposition guy, Alexei Navalny. This is that video that he posted today. But what this is Alexei Navalny and his anti-corruption group flying drones with cameras on them over what they say are all of Dmitry Medvedev's secret properties. Now, again, like Vladimir Putin, Dmitry Medvedev is not supposed to be rich. He doesn't admit to owning anything like this. He has never worked outside. Look at this house. He has never worked outside of government jobs. He just gets a government salary. But here is the opposition guy, the guy who wants to run against Putin, this guy who they keep locking up, this guy who they keep convicting on trumped-up charges, whose friend and co-leader of the opposition was just murdered in the street outside the Kremlin. Here's Alexei Navalny, not just undeterred in being a Putin opponent. Here's Alexei Navalny breaking whole new ground, literally flying drones over the walls and fences. Look at this house. Of Putin's prime minister's 45,000 square foot mountain chalet in Sochi on the Black Sea. How did you afford that? And here they are flying drones, right, with cameras attached, and they've mapped it here over this gigantic country house in Kursk, which has its own man-made lake. Here's them flying another drone over another one of these gigantic country mansions. Reportedly, this one a 30,000 square foot behemoth in the beautiful verdant Moscow suburbs. This one also has its own lake. And I think we've got one other here. This one we can't even really figure out where it is because I can't understand the Google Russian translation well enough to figure out the geography on this one. This is reportedly, though, another one of Dmitry Medvedev's lovely homes. There's this big rural estate. We think this is also maybe outside Moscow, but not too far. Oh, but wait, there's more. They've also taken drone footage of what they say is his vineyard in Tuscany. With its 17th century villa. And while we're at it, would you like to see his yachts? This is his yacht. Oh, sorry. And this is his other yacht, both of which are reportedly named for his wife, which is nice. But remember, lifelong public servant, no declared legal sources of outside income whatsoever other than his government salary. And it is one thing to say Vladimir Putin is the richest man in the world and his cronies are all corrupt. It's another thing to document it, to post all the documentation online, to unravel all the shell companies, to explain it in a way that normal people can understand it, even with subtitles, and to lay out the trust and the foundation, to lay it all out as public information, and then to physically go there and film it and post the film online with explanations so everybody can see it. That is what Alexei Navalny just did today. This week here at home, the U.S. Attorney General recused himself from investigations involving contact between the Russian government and the Trump campaign. He had to recuse himself after he admitted to not disclosing information about his own contacts with the Russian government while he was part of the Trump campaign. This follows the resignation of the National Security Advisor for also not disclosing his contacts with the Russian government during the transition and during the campaign before that. And I want to make a point here about bravery and risk. Do you remember how it is that we found out about Michael Flynn's conversations with the Russian government? How we all came to know that National Security Advisor Mike Flynn had actually talked about sanctions with the Russian government, even though he'd been denying that? Do you remember how we found out that actually we know what's in the conversations and we know he talked about sanctions? How did we know what was in the conversations? How did we find out about that? They were phone calls. How did we? We found out about that because there were reportedly transcripts of the calls between National Security Advisor Mike Flynn and Russian government officials. And as we think about danger, right? As we think about how dangerous this moment is, as we think about political bravery in this context, as we think about what people are risking and how big a deal this moment is for us as a country, how outside the normal course of events this thing is that we are living. Consider just that one fact about Michael Flynn, National Security Advisor, and why he had to resign 24 days into this new administration. U.S. intelligence agencies oftentimes, like every day, listen in on calls and communications made by foreigners, particularly foreign government officials here in the U.S. Happens all the time. It's a little unseemly, right? It's not like awesome feeling to know that, but it's true, and it's legal under U.S. law. But under U.S. law, if American law enforcement or intelligence sources are surveilling, they are listening in on a foreign communication, and an American gets on the phone, a U.S. person becomes part of that conversation, then in that circumstance, in that event, it is no longer legal for the U.S. agencies listening in on that call to keep listening. They have to hang up. It's legal for them to listen to foreigners, for them to eavesdrop and spy on foreigners. It is not legal for them to eavesdrop and spy on Americans. So if an American gets on that call, if an American turns up in one of those communications, they have to drop it.